a connection box or something that shorted out?
I don't think he would.
I will be talking
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it wasn't in a connection box. I thought you were talking to her. The previous owner,
But you can leave a
well,
message
actually
and-
2 owners before.
Okay.
There we go.
Did some-
Did some wiring on his own. Hey, Lindsay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello,
Hey, you can hear us okay?
I can hear you, okay?
Yes. All right. Well, we'll start our committee meeting here. I've got the committed fund balance history out here, but do we want to start with questions on the proposed revised budget for 22? Do you guys have any questions on that we showed it to the board last
Let me transfer.
at the meeting?
100, okay?
Okay. Well, this is the important thing I think that we really want to talk about. So what we've got on here, and this just goes back to 2014, so you can get a kind of history of how these reserve funds. Correct me if I say something wrong here, please, Lindsay. This is what they were reserved to do, and some of them you can see by 2021 were spent already. Starting at the top, the compensated absences. That's for custodian. Is it just custodians, Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just the custodial group.
Because they have or used to have in their contract where they would get paid out for sick time. And so this money was reserved back then so that we could have that to pay if and when they retired. And how many do we have? What, 1 or 2 people that still have that old contract? Or
It's still the custodial staff, but the reserve, just from changes that have been, our payouts that have been made, we're just down to this balance now.
Okay. The Olivia Street assessments, that's pretty, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Four's preschool, $60,000 was reserved back in 2014. That was before Lindsay was here. Nobody's really sure what that was reserved for. It's just been hanging out. You know, like in your own checking accounts, you probably just have a 60 grand that you didn't know was hanging out. It happens to me all the time. Next one's pretty obvious, the Olivia Street assessment. I asked Lindsay why in FY20 or 21, it looks like we didn't pay it, but she said that that's when we first started asking, what's all this with the reserve funds? What are these reserved for?
Mhm.
And Lindsay told me that Dale said, let's not spend any of that anymore. So they were paid those 2 years, but it was just paid out of the general fund. I'm assuming it was paid out of the general fund, Lindsay.
Yeah, the general fund unassigned versus the committed fund.
Okay. So that's why that was not spent down the last 2 years. And Lindsay, I would assume that we put away enough at the beginning to pay for the entire assessment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. We've got roof repairs. You can see $1 million was set aside in FY14. And then that's kind of dwindled down here to the 150,000. This is in addition to the long-term facilities maintenance money that's been accruing for the last couple of years. Then we've got this HVAC unit for $493,000. And then what we've got here all comes to the total of $765,044.71.
So the HVAC unit, that money's just sitting out there right now?
Exactly. Yep. And so you can see that in 15, we reserved 500,000 for HVAC. And no plan was ever made with that. One of the things that we've talked about is, depending on what we come up with the Nexus, if we're gonna do some repairs or renovations, these could conceivably both be the roof repairs and the HVAC could conceivably just be part of the a referendum, a bond, and then these would be completely free funds. Lindsay, did I get that all right?
So right now, the roof repair at 272,000 in 2014 is zeroed out. There's nothing there left. See that where it just says roof repair?
Oh, yep. Yeah. So they must have planned in, I would assume. Lindsay, can you hear us? Lindsay. All right. I would assume, I don't know, but I would assume that they reserved it in 14 and then spent it in 15. That's why that's not there anymore. Lindsay? I wonder if I should hang up on her. All right. What we really want to look at is we'd like to start the payback of that community service fund.
Yeah.
The danger, we could do it all at once. We could figure out how to do that, but then you've got no problem. No, oh, I wonder if she's calling back here. Lindsay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, it was weird. I could hear you guys playing us day, but couldn't hear me talk.
Oh, weird.
So.
Yeah. So was there anything you wanted to add on any of that?
No, I think you hit everything right, but what I was trying to say, but you couldn't hear me, is yes, they set aside that 272,000 for the roof repairs, but they spent the 272,000 right away the following year in 15 or 17. So that's been zero since way back in 2015.
So I would assume then the same thing with the boiler. They reserved that money and then
they did a boiler project, yep, and so it was spent and used out of the committed fund.
okay.
I have a question. So where is that board fund of 750,000 that they told us that the board could make a decision on?
That's what this is. So that's why I'm explaining. This is how it was committed by the board over the years. So Teresa, that this last column adds up to $765,440.71. So that's what you're asking about.
Okay, I thought at one time, Lindsay, didn't you say one time you had no idea what those funds were for, that it was supposed to be for a specific project, but nothing was ever done about that?
No, we've always had these general descriptions, but I don't know that, like, they're just general descriptions. So when it says Forest Preschool, normally you would be much more descriptive on a project or a specific reason it was set aside. So because I don't know that project or specific region or reason, I don't want to misuse what the board back then originally committed the funds for. That's why we're having this conversation.
So the board has the ability to recommit these things.
Yeah, they can recommit, they can they could come up with something different to commit them for, or they could release them, which then it would go into the general fund unassigned. So those are kind of the options that are on the table for these funds right now.
And what we proposed at the last board meeting is to take 250,000 out of here and pay back half of that community service fund. And then we budget for the next 5 years to pay back the rest of that fund. It'll be the community service itself should be pretty close to self-sufficient at this point. Lindsay, anything else?
Nope, I think that's all. So I mean, that's the recommendation. And then obviously, if you look at towards the bottom on the right-hand side, if you take that recommendation out after what will be used in 22, there's $488,794.71 to be, on the table for discussion on what you would like to take back to the full board as a recommendation for these committed funds.
That was gonna be my next questions is then, what do you recommend for the 488,000? Do we keep it there? Do we move it to the general? Do we, what do we do?
I was thinking myself that I truly feel like after speaking with Nexus the other night, and they said that going through these plans could take 5 to 6 years. I mean, it's a process. It's not like it's gonna happen overnight. And our Rhode Island gym roof has been out of rotation already for 3 years. I think we need to get and put a new roof on that, because no matter what happens, we're gonna need that gym, whether we remodel, we build new, no matter what we do, we need at least 4 gyms. That's a very nice gym. We use it all the time. I think we'd be foolish to let that go. I really do.
Mhm.
I would agree.
I do agree too.
Um,
Do we know what a cost on that
We-
is?
I would, it's gonna be
It
a
would be within this.
300,000. I total guess,
Yeah.
complete
Yep.
guess.
And not like just a Band-Aid, or I think it needs to be,
A roof.
the roof has to be put on.
Yeah. But even with that, we need to find out what the plan's gonna be, and hopefully I was emailing back and forth with Mark Leisner. He emailed me yesterday. They hope in the next 2 weeks to find out from the state if they can get the funding for their project.
Mhm.
I think I said this at the board meeting, they didn't get their funding from the federal government,
Mhm.
or maybe he said it. But we're feeling pretty good about next year. They gave us some pointers. I wrote a letter of support on behalf of the district for their project. And yeah, I think that they've got a really good shot at getting that.
Mhm.
So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we hear back from the state and see what.
Well, and like Mark said too, it doesn't take anything away from the school district. I truly feel like you don't have to look far with the gas prices. There's no formula for babies. The farmers can't even get in and plant their crops. It's gonna be a short season. We don't know what kind of crop there's gonna be coming in. We have to leave that option open of keeping that school and bringing those kids back there and doing something maybe between the 2 schools and or consolidating with Buffalo Lake Hector. We're silly if we think we're gonna shut that down and get people on board. They're gonna be like, are you kidding me? We are in a financially and economically hard time right now, even more so than we were when that referendum came through. And people have been talking, and I think we need to open our eyes and ears and listen. I just think that even though that might happen, we might have to use that.
Sure. And absolutely, we need to keep that in mind. What,
This forced preschool thing, it's just 60,000 been sitting there forever
yeah,
and, you know. that's
pretty
something-
safe to use that.
If it's a preschool thing.
It was our, yeah,
And that's where we've got a problem in community F.
Yeah.
That should be gone
Mhm. Definitely.
as part of that.
that one's kind of a no-brainer for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
you know, the money that we've got set aside for roof repairs, I doubt that would be enough to do that,
Yeah.
Probably
but
not.
I fully agree that we need to take care of that roof. Because I don't whether or not we ever use the whole building again, we certainly want to use the parts that we are using, and
Yeah, minus the 3-story. I think that's, people realize that is
Yeah.
gonna be
Gone.
history,
Mhm.
but it would be an option to use Engen's plan that they're trying to
Mhm.
use for this.
I think one way or another, I'm guessing, my gut would tell me that that's something along those lines is going to happen. So we definitely want to take care of that. And this is a great start towards that.
I agree.
So I guess not touching that might be wise.
So this 272,000 that was set aside for roof repairs back in 14, that is still there?
No.
It's gone.
So you can, once it,
That's 0.
yeah, it got
It's
zeroed
zeroed
out.
out.
So
Right,
Mhm.
yeah, no, that's gone.
so that's gone, so.
Yeah. Essentially, you can see the balance after each year on the bottom line here.
Another thing too that I think we have to look at financially, and we need to investigate this. Jim, do you know, does the city of Olympia, are they in charge of the pool building itself? Is that their baby?
I met a couple months ago. I met with Dan Coughlin to talk about that. So it's actually a fascinating story. The history behind the pool it goes back 70 some years, and the community and the city got together and they own it 50-50.
Okay.
So literally every other brick, it belongs to us. And
Okay.
so we maintain it together.
Okay, my thing that I want to bring up to you guys is that I think we would be wise to take a little stroll over there and take a look at that envelope.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a definite emergency health and safety thing right now. The east side, if you see where that crack is and how it's gonna pull away, and then if you look on the southwest corner, there's just stuff laying on the ground, and there's this crack going way up, and same thing on the southeast corner going way up, and you'll just see that it's gonna have to get addressed immediately, because I'm afraid we're gonna have to rope that off so nobody parks
We've
there
talked
or
about
walks
that,
there.
and they're looking at that.
I thought they were having an engineer or something come in to scope it, to see that, I mean, the outside wall is just a veneer for
Mhm.
looks.
Yes.
That if the attachment is breaking loose in there or not. or-
The inside, I've been told, the inside is solid.
Mhm,
We're not worried about the building falling down.
Great,
What happened was it had been weeping, I suppose,
We've had a moisture problem.
moisture problem, and it was escaping. And I don't know. It was quite a while ago that they thought that the solution would be to paint.
Seal it.
I
this
know.
is gonna have to be, my husband looked at it, it's gonna have to be anchored or something through there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's likely we'll have to put a whole new facade.
Yeah, or
I-
taken out. But I wonder, just to protect us and any students, if we shouldn't at least put some kind of a marking that they can't come within 6 to 8, maybe 10 feet of it to park or walk. Because if that lets loose,
Yeah,
I don't think any of us want to go there.
the last time they looked at it, they weren't concerned about that, but it's definitely gotten exponentially worse this year.
Who's they, the last time you looked at it?
I don't, whoever came out,
Okay. So somebody a professional in that.
yeah, I know.
Field.
I don't know that it was an official assessment. I
Okay.
just, I think it was, I wouldn't worry too much about it now. It may have, I don't want to say. I'm learning to not just speculate while I'm on camera.
And it couldn't have improved the situation when we couldn't use the tarps to cover the water for
No.
insulation or to stop some of the, that's terrible. It's gone almost a year now without being able to put the tarps down to insulate the pool.
Well, I think it's
To stop
gone
the moisture
longer
release.
than that, probably.
Yeah, because the 2 of the 3 tarps, the cables are broke, and it's, You're not part of the pool board, are you? no, I
Okay.
just observe some of them.
Yeah.
But I keep a good eye on it 3 days a week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, you're a morning swimmer, aren't you? Yeah, I forgot.
Just for safety reasons.
I
think
see those
it's-
ceiling tiles dropping that they're getting so waterlogged that they're dropping one at a time.
Really?
The east wall, just about all the end ceiling tile have soaked up with water till they got so heavy they fell out of the grid.
Is that why they're not in there?
Yeah, that's why they're missing.
Oh,
The
okay.
moisture did that. And, we needed a lift in there last December. So, I mean, another local guy that has the cables for it and everything went and bought the cables, but we couldn't get a lift here to work on them. And so the
Okay.
lift just came back a week or two.
I don't think we've talked about this. I've been at the last 2 pool board meetings. It hasn't even come up.
So,
I don't believe.
now.
I'll bring it up at the next month here. Anyway, let's look back here. The 60,000 is pretty much free and clear.
Mhm.
We know that we're going to have to spend these compensated absences at some point. Granted, it's not a lot, but it's there, and I think we should just hold on to that.
So we're down to a couple, Lindsay said a couple janitors left yet that have a tie. to
Okay,
that?
I guess I misspoke. I guess it's still in the contract. So, is there a reason that we don't add to this, or is 5,000?
You definitely can.
Okay.
So obviously the accrual changes every year because how it's calculated for when I prep for the audit and get ready to produce financial statements, it's calculated based upon who was there at June 30th and what their, but never replenished, if that makes sense. So that's not really the liability. Like when I go calculate June 30th, that's net of $5,801 isn't going to be our liability at that time. It's going to be more, but there is still $5,801 set aside to use if someone retires and we pay out their sick leave.
Do you know what our liability is right now for this year? So
No,
you're
I-
driving, so okay.
We don't calculate it till the end of the fiscal year based upon what they have left to carry over into the next fiscal year.
Right. But I mean, and you probably can't look this up
I know
right
it-
now.
I know it's like if I look at last year's balance that I prepped for auditors, I want to say it was around $12,000 some that we had
Okay.
calculated as liability.
Okay. The street assessments, we know we're going to be using that over time.
What is it per year, the street assessments?
Just judging by the past here, it looks like it's about
90s.
9,000.
It's $8,750.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's pretty.
Oh, there it is right there.
Yeah.
Peekaboo.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we do have extra sitting in there. Not that you'd want to drain it all, but you could take more out of there.
But we
Yeah.
still have the assessment, right? It just.
We still have the
it didn't go to
assessment.
2 years because they took it out of the general fund.
Yeah, we still have the
So-
assessment.
Yeah.
Lindsay, what was the rationale? Like, if we know it's going to be $8,750 a year, rather than just budgeting that,
Yeah.
why did they set aside
Mhm.
So much. in
Yeah.
there.
96,000?
Seems silly.
Mhm.
I couldn't tell you what the rationale behind it was, except for they just knew that it was a liability that they had long term, I'm guessing, just to make sure that they know that they had that money sitting there.
Mhm.
I don't know the reasoning. That's why this topic's been a little hard for me because there's not enough audit trail for me to know exactly what that board was thinking at that time.
Right.
And I just don't want to miss people.
Oh, did we lose you?
Oh,
Oh.
there she is.
There she
Still
is.
there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. We also don't have any immediate plans with that HVAC unit.
But we have some immediate needs.
We do. I guess what's more important to us? Do we want to fix that community service fund and get that healthy again? I guess that's what I've interpreted our goal has been, even though we never stated that as a goal. That's my assumption from talking to you guys has been that that's something we wanted to fix. So I guess I think we could take it out of here and maybe piece it together, get the 250,000 to just fix that, and then we've solved the problem. We're just done with it. The HVAC, that's gonna that's gonna take more time. We don't wanna, it's like the roofs. We put off a roof project because we don't wanna do something that we just immediately have to reverse.
Mhm.
Because we were gonna do one of these, I think this roof or the next one over this year, but we held off on that because
Mhm. Yep.
but we don't know what's gonna happen. I just thought that seemed foolish to spend all that and then all of a sudden decide, oh, we're gonna redo our whatever,
Yeah.
Except for the
Mhm.
gym. I think that's a whole different.
the Bird Island gym.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not talking about that at all. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Teresa.
So the 99 project is going to happen this year or not?
It's not gonna happen in 22. No,
Okay, so that's been delayed a year.
we just pushed it back. Yeah.
What's the 99 project?
The 99
The
roof.
99 part of the building
Mm.
was built
Okay.
in.
Yeah.
It's,
We've got the money to do
we're-
it.
We're over a 20-year lifespan already.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But we've got that in our LTFM. So we've got the money set aside. It's not in this,
Okay,
but
okay.
we just thought it would be better to hold off and see what they find. But they're going to do a deep dive.
Are they over at the old Bird Island building too? Diving
Yeah.
through there?
Yep.
Okay.
'Cause, yeah, there was a lot of issues on the HVAC system as far as the ductwork down through here. And, I don't know if the heat exchanger in the pool, if that's been straightened out at one time, that it had fallen down on the floor and everything else.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the heat exchanger, but yeah, I do know that I've showed some of our plumbing work. I've got a piece of a pipe that was just rusted out from the inside, and you know that happens. So yeah, we also,
I have a problem with that too, for the simple reason that I know to cut out a chunk of pipe and repair it, for what it costs you to have somebody do it, you could probably put in 100 feet of new pipe.
Hmm.
I mean, a hydraulic hose is the same way. The couplers that you're replacing or you're splicing with are more expensive than,
sure.
you know,
Mhm.
a greater volume of new pipe. I mean, repairing that old stuff that way is that's just throwing money out the window.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a leaky pipe, you replace the pipe, because you know darn well the whole pipe looks the same way.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it isn't,
Well, they're replacing it in sections.
yeah, but I mean, it needs to be probably 100-foot sections instead of 5-foot sections.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that.
Well,
But I think, like I say, if we go ahead with some sort of project, we're going to levy those funds anyway. What would you think about taking the 60 from the 4 preschool, putting it into the preschool? Actually,
Mhm.
I'm not even sure we'd have to have approval for that again, but we don't know why it was put in there in the
Right.
first place. But and then take the rest maybe out of that HVAC unit. And that gets us on the road to
Mhm.
solving one issue. We still have others.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Well, the way she has it broke down here. Oh, wow.
Walker.
Where did this come from?
I can give you.
You-
right now.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's coming down, isn't
It
it?
is coming down.
I thought it was supposed to be nice out all day. All right. I hate our weather.
Well, it looks like all those
Mhm.
totals above came to 765,044.71.
Mhm.
And then it looks like if they took the 17,500 for the catch up and then the 87 for the assessments, we have $738 to monkey with.
Mhm.
So then if we did the 250,000 to community ed, that 488 we could dump into the roof. That's like taking everything from up here.
That
And
would be
there's-
everything.
Yeah,
from
so
there.
there's nothing for the Forest preschool at this point, but if it's been sitting there, no one's used it, then why
Mhm.
even set it aside again when we
Yeah.
have two big issues, and if we want to square away with community ed or get a big down payment on that
Mhm.
and get that roof fixed, I think you're going to see some happy people out there.
Mhm.
You definitely are.
Mhm.
Because we have to move on something, and we can always say, well, this, we can hem and haw about all the needs, but we have to start, we need to
Let's
start.
start somewhere.
So the street assessment's what, 87.50 a year?
That's what she's
Yes.
saying.
Yep, until that's paid out. So
But we must be behind by 17,000, because you said catch up on there? That's 17.5?
what is that? Why is
I
it,
didn't understand that.
why is it listed as
She said
17.5
we
catch
hated
up?
Those years. were-
Is that, that's because we've already spent that. I think I can answer this, Lindsay. We've already spent that. We spent it out of the general fund.
Mhm.
It's sort of the opposite of what we did with or it's sort of the same thing of what we
So we're
did with
just
the
giving it back to,
school. We're just repaying that money that we spent out of the general fund.
Okay.
got it,
And again,
that's squaring it out.
Mr. Bransoy didn't want to touch any of this until we figured out where it all came from. And I think to answer Teresa's question from before, I know that in, I don't know, around 19, we started asking, well, what is all this money?
Mhm.
And nobody knew. And so yeah, there was a point in time where we couldn't answer that. I think the information was there. We just had to dive for it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's nice to see this.
yeah, it's interesting.
Mhm.
I definitely learn a lot every time I sit down with a new sheet.
So,
How many years does that street assessment run yet?
do you know how many years we have
Yeah.
left, Lindsay, on that street assessment?
I can't,
Here,
I don't remember if it was 20 or 25.
Oh, it's not too much farther out.
yeah, let me, I bet we can calculate it if I can find my calculator. Assuming they set aside, and I'm guessing they would, let's see, 96,250. Divide that by,
Looks like the last 3 years
87.50.
we didn't pay anything on it.
so it looks like a total of 11 years. So that would mean in 20,
But they
yeah.
were probably paying it out before they committed those funds, so.
Mm. Probably, because
Okay.
11 years
Oh.
seems like kind of a weird
Yeah, that is a weird
number for
number,
an
yeah.
assessment.
Are they usually 15 or 20 year?
For sure.
I can look that up and get back to you guys on that. It's actually in our audited financial statements. I just don't remember how many years it is.
Well, I would guess from FY14, it's 11 years, so 25, I guess.
Well, 11 years left, but they were probably paying on the assessment prior to 2015.
Yeah.
That's just when
Yeah,
they
but
decided
we're-
to commit the rest of the funds.
I think the question was how many more.
Wouldn't that have been when the street was redone
Oh,
on the
sorry
north
about
side, the north side of the school? here?
Oh, probably. Mhm.
That's where because there was rerouting of
I don't. Oh,
drain
geez.
pipes and everything else through that.
I hope the drain pipes got rerouted. well.
Oh my goodness.
I had not much, but I had a little water last week in my basement. So
Oh, did you?
yeah, just nothing.
Canoe for your birthday?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe just a kayak. So how are we okay with taking the 60 and then the remainder out of that HVAC?
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
too.
Mhm.
I'm glad.
Absolutely.
It'll be nice to start this.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yes.
And we'll look at the roof stuff. Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Well, I was thinking like for students, we could probably start rice fields and stuff and get like some, classes like that
Yeah,
going. and get some rice fields.
exactly.
Well, I'd say you should have seen, but now you're starting to see it again, the lake that will form out there.
Mhm.
Maybe that's where the new pool goes.
Yeah.
It might be too deep.
Yeah, it's
Gosh.
an interesting year.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Sandy did text me. I didn't see it until we started our meeting.
Oh, really?
Something came up at work, so she wasn't able to be there. So, all right. Thank you. Goodbye, viewers.
So Jim, everyone's okay